Hi class, Mrs. Calvi here. Quick review on adding and subtracting decimals. So when we add or subtract decimals, the one thing we have to remember is we are always lining our decimals up. So in this case here, we are adding 1 6/10 and adding that to 4/10. So I'm going to write it vertically. Right now this is written horizontally, so we're going to write it vertically. 1 6/10, and we are adding 4/10. So we are going to add 6 plus 4 is 10, drop down our decimal, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 0 is 2, so I end up getting 2.0, or this is the same as just 2. Okay, you don't actually need the decimal and the 0 here. Your final answer would be 2. All right, let's try another one. All right, so here we have 3 minus 8/10. So I'm going to write it vertically. I don't have a decimal in my 3, but we should know that if we don't see a decimal in a whole number, it's at the end. So I'm going to write it with the decimal, and I'm going to put a 0 for a placeholder because I know that 8/10 goes out 1 to the right of my decimal. So now I'm going to subtract. I cannot take 8 away from 0, so I'm going to borrow from the 3. The 3 becomes a 2. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. Drop down my decimal. 2 minus 0 is 2. So here, my final answer is 2.2. If I wanted to check to see if I'm correct, I'm going to add the two smaller numbers, and that should equal the larger number. So if I wanted to take 0.8 and add 2.2, I should come up to 3.0. 8 plus 2 is 10. Drop down my decimal. 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 2 is 3, and I did come back up to my original number there, 3.0. Okay, in this problem we have 7 55/100, and we are subtracting 3 25/100. So I'm going to rewrite this vertically. So 7.55, we're going to line up our decimals. It is a subtraction problem. 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 minus 2 is 3. Drop down my decimal. 7 minus 3 is 4. So here our final answer is 4.3. You do not need that 0 at the end there. Okay. The only time we would need the 0 is if I said we were rounding and we were rounding to the hundredths place. But that is not the case here. We are just simply adding and subtracting, so you don't need that 0 at the end there. All right. So one more type of problem that I want to go over, and that is if we are evaluating decimal expressions. So for example, if I had 7.52 and I was subtracting r, and I gave r a value of 2.9. So this is just like when we were evaluating whole numbers, except for now they're just decimals. So I'm going to plug in 2.9 in for r and then just solve the problem. So the problem becomes 7.52 minus 2.9. Now I'm just going to rewrite this vertically. So 7.52 minus, remember, you must line up the decimals for adding and subtracting. So this is a good example because this is sometimes where students would make a mistake. And what they would do is they would shift this 2.9 all the way to the right, and then the decimals would not be lined up. You need to line up your decimals for adding and subtracting. I'm going to put a placeholder of 0 here to help us out. So 2 minus 0 rather is 2. I cannot take 9 from 5, so I need to borrow. 7 becomes a 6, the 5 becomes 15. So 15 minus 9 gives me 6. Drop down my decimal. 6 minus 2 is 4. So here our final answer is 4 62/100. Okay, so remember, adding and subtracting decimals, you must line up your decimal. And that is it for now. I will talk to you soon.